Snow falls thick enough to swallow abandoned streets whole. Charred buildings stand motionless like grave markers. Radio static screams in their ears. We're surrounded. She stands at the edge of formation. SVK 14S hanging low, coat covered in snow, invisible to everyone. When the captain gives orders, a rough arm shoves her aside. We don't need you. Then the first bullet tears through the wind. In the silent space between heartbeats, this dying city realizes one thing. They just pushed aside the only person who can bring them home. Captain Marcus Webb doesn't look at her when he speaks. His jaw is tight, eyes scanning the ruins ahead through the swirling white curtain of snow. The abandoned city of Krevansk stretches before them 3 square miles of concrete skeletons and frozen silence. Taylor, your rear guard. His voice cuts through the wind. Winters, you've got point with Jackson. Morrison takes overwatch on the east flank. She adjusts the SVK 14S on her shoulder. The weight is familiar, comforting, but the words land like ice down her spine. Rear guard means stay back. Means we don't trust your skills where it matters. Sir, with the visibility, she begins. I gave you an order, Harper. Webb's hand comes up, not quite touching her, but the gesture is clear. Step back. You maintain rear position. Radio if you see movement. Sergeant Dylan Morrison smirks from his position near the rusted truck. He's been with Webb for 3 tours. His M110 is slung casually, confidence radiating from every movement. He's the unit's designated marksman, the one they call when precision matters. He doesn't know what precision really means. Rear guard, Morrison mutters to Private Jackson. Baby duty. Jackson doesn't respond. He's young, green, 2 months in theater, but he knows enough to keep his mouth shut when tensions run high. The unit moves forward. 11 soldiers threading through the skeletal remains of what was once a residential district. Burnt-out cars create a maze of metal and shadow. Every window is an empty socket. Every doorway a mouth waiting to swallow them whole. Harper stays 20 meters back, exactly as ordered. Her boots make no sound on the fresh snow. The SVK 14S weighs 11 pounds fully loaded, but she carries it like an extension of her body. The scope APS-01M21 with 4x magnification catches fragments of gray light filtering through the storm. Nobody mentions the nickname. Nobody speaks about what happened 2 deployments ago in the Kharkiv corridor. Information gets buried, records get scrubbed, legends become whispers that die in the wind. But she remembers. She remembers every shot that mattered, every life that depended on invisible calculations made in fractions of seconds. Wind speed, drop rate, the slight tremor in her heartbeat that she learned to eliminate through sheer force of will. The radio crackles. Webb's voice, distorted by static, thermals picking up signatures. 3 buildings north-northwest. Could be civilians, could be hostiles, moving to investigate. Harper's finger hovers near the push-to-talk button. She sees something Webb doesn't, the way snow accumulates differently on the rooftops to the east. The subtle displacement patterns that suggest movement, concealment, preparation. But she doesn't speak. Because rear guard doesn't make tactical suggestions. Rear guard stays quiet and watches the empty street behind them, while the real soldiers handle the real work. The unit disappears into the building's maw. For 3 minutes, there's nothing but wind and the soft hiss of falling snow. Then the radio explodes with sound. Contact! We've got contact! Gunfire erupts the sharp crack of AK variants, mixing with the deeper thump of NATO rifles. Muzzle flashes bloom in windows like deadly flowers. Harper drops to one knee behind a demolished sedan, SVK already coming up to her shoulder. But Webb's voice cuts through the chaos. Harper, maintain position, do not advance, that's an order. She freezes. Through her scope, she can see fragments of the fight shadows moving, the distinct profile of hostile combatants using the building's interior for cover. She could end this. 3 shots, maybe 4. Clean sight lines from her position. Rear guard stays. Rear guard. Webb shouts over the gunfire. Morrison, you've got overwatch. The message is clear. We don't need you. We don't trust you. Stay back and stay quiet. So she does. She watches as Morrison attempts shots he's not qualified to make, at ranges he hasn't trained for, in conditions that require instincts he doesn't possess. She watches as the unit burns through ammunition, as tactical positions collapse, as the careful entry plan disintegrates into desperate survival. And she says nothing, because that's what they want. That's what they've always wanted, for her to be invisible, to be less, to be forgettable. They don't know that invisible is exactly what she does best. Krevansk died 3 years ago in 48 hours of artillery fire. Population, 0. Industry, rubble. Strategic value, a shortcut that saves 12 kilometers on the route to the northern checkpoint. Except the dead don't always stay dead. Harper moves through the ruins with the patience of someone who understands that speed kills. The buildings lean at wrong angles, skeletal frameworks exposed where walls have collapsed. A child's bicycle lies half buried in snow near a shattered storefront. The metal frame is orange with rust, wheels frozen in place. The snow absorbs everything. Footsteps vanish within minutes. Voices die within meters. It's the perfect environment for a ghost. She learned this in Finland during cold weather training. The instructors called it white silence, the phenomenon where fresh snowfall dampens sound so completely that gunfire can become nearly undetectable beyond 100 meters. Most soldiers find it disorienting. The absence of acoustic feedback makes every action feel muffled, uncertain. But for a sniper, it's paradise. Harper's breath forms minimal condensation. She controls her respiration the way concert pianists control their fingers with absolute precision, with years of muscle memory, with an understanding that the smallest mistake cascades into catastrophe. The SVK-14S is a weapon designed for patience. Developed for specialized units, chambered in 9x64mm Brennecke, it's built for long-range engagements where standard marksman rifles fail. Maximum effective range, 800 meters. In the right hands, much further. She checks the scope adjustment. The reticle is clean, the glass fog-free. She carries lens wipes treated with anti-condensation compound, a habit drilled into her by an old instructor who once told her, "Your equipment is only as good as your maintenance routine. Fail your weapon, and your weapon will fail you when it matters most." The radio continues its chaotic symphony. Webb is repositioning the unit, trying to establish a defensive perimeter inside the building. Morrison is shouting about angles and coverage. Someone, probably Jackson, is breathing too hard, panic creeping into his rhythm. Harper studies the surrounding structures. A 6-story apartment block to the northeast, facade mostly intact. A collapsed department store to the west, roof caved in but walls still standing. An old administrative building to the south, concrete brutalist architecture that time and war couldn't completely erase. Each building is a puzzle of sight lines and dead zones, of positions that offer advantage and positions that promise death. She catalogs them automatically, her mind creating a 3-dimensional map of possibilities. That's when she sees it. 3rd floor, northeast building. A window where snow has been carefully cleared from the sill. Not by wind. Wind creates irregular patterns, chaotic distributions. This is deliberate. This is preparation. 2nd position, the department store's western wall. A small opening, probably created by collapse, now reinforced with debris arranged to create a firing port. The arrangement is too precise to be accidental. 3rd position, the administrative building's roof. A shadow that moves wrong, that shifts against the snowfall in a way that organic debris doesn't. They're being observed, studied. The unit walked into a prepared kill zone, and they don't even know it yet. Harper's hand moves to the radio, then stops. Webb won't listen. He never listens. To him, she's the soldier who got lucky once, who got credit for shots that Morrison says were just chance, who doesn't belong in the rotation. The snow continues falling. Each flake is a countdown timer. Each minute of accumulation creates more concealment for whoever is positioning around them. She thinks about speaking up, about breaking protocol, about saving lives at the cost of her already demolished reputation. But orders are orders. And rearguard stays rearguard. For now, the building swallows Webb's team like a predator. Harper counts. 11 soldiers entered 6 minutes ago. Radio traffic has degraded from controlled communication to fragments of stress and confusion, taking fire from multiple. They can't get a clear shot. They're using the props. Jackson's hit. Man down. We need. The snow muffles the gunfire, but she can still track it. The distinct bark of AK-74M rifles, the heavier percussion of something belt-fed, the sharp crack that suggests SVD Dragunov rifles positioned for precision work. Morrison's voice cuts through. "I can't see them. The angles are all wrong." "Because you're looking for targets like a regular marksman," Harper thinks. "You're expecting them to expose themselves. You're waiting for clear shots that will never come. Professional ambush teams don't give clear shots." "Captain, we need to pull back." That's Lieutenant Sarah Chen, second in command. Her voice carries the edge of someone who's done the math and doesn't like the answer. "We're pinned down on 3 sides." "Negative," Webb responds. "We hold this position." "Morrison, find me those shooters." But Morrison can't find what he's not trained to see. The hostile positions are perfectly calculated, just enough exposure to fire, never enough to present a viable target. Whoever planned this understands tactical geometry at a level that suggests military training, real combat experience, and a deep familiarity with urban warfare dynamics. Harper watches from her position behind the demolished sedan. The SVK-14S rests on her knee, barrel angled down. Her finger stays off the trigger, her breath remains controlled. She counts the hostile firing positions. 6 confirmed, possibly 8. The team inside the building has maybe 40 minutes of ammunition at their current rate of fire. After that, it becomes a close-quarters fight, and close-quarters fights in confined spaces favor whoever knows the terrain better. Private First Class Amanda Torres comes over the radio, voice tight, running low on mags. "I've got maybe 3 left." "Conserve your ammunition," Webb orders. "Fire discipline, people." But discipline doesn't matter when you're outnumbered and outmaneuvered. Harper learned that lesson in a different city, during a different crisis, when following orders meant watching good soldiers die for bad tactics. She shifts position, moving 30 meters west to a better vantage point behind a collapsed concrete barrier. Through the scope, she can finally see into the building's lower windows. She catches glimpses of her unit, flashes of movement, the dark outline of tactical gear against pale interior walls. They're compressed into a space roughly 15 meters by 10 meters. First floor, eastern section. Windows on 2 sides, both currently serving as fatal funnels that suppress any attempt at escape. The stairs to the second floor are blocked by debris intentional, Harper realizes. Whoever set this trap wanted to limit vertical mobility. "Captain, thermal shows movement on multiple floors around us," Chen reports. "They're boxing us in. Then we break out," Webb replies. "On my mark, we push through the south exit." "Sir, that's a kill zone," Morrison interrupts. "I'm looking right at it. We go through that door, we're dead." For once, Morrison is right. The south exit opens onto a courtyard with 0 cover, surrounded by elevated positions that offer perfect fields of fire. It's a murder funnel designed with textbook precision. The radio goes quiet for 3 seconds. In combat, 3 seconds is an eternity. It's the space where leaders either make decisions or lose control. "All right," Webb finally says. "We dig in. Establish fields of fire. Maximize what cover we have. Help is coming." But Harper knows the math. The nearest friendly unit is 40 minutes out, minimum. Weather conditions mean air support is grounded. The quick reaction force is dealing with another situation 30 kilometers south. Webb's team is alone, outgunned, and running out of options. Torres comes back on. "Sir, Jackson's bleeding pretty bad. We need to get him out of here." "Working on it." Torres. "Just keep pressure on the wound." Harper's jaw tightens. Jackson is 19 years old. He has a girlfriend named Rebecca who sends him letters every week, each one carefully folded into origami animals. He showed Harper a paper crane once, smiling like a kid on Christmas morning. Now he's bleeding out on a frozen floor while his captain makes calculations that don't add up to survival. Through her scope, Harper tracks the hostile positions again. She's mapped 7 now, confirmed. Each one is professionally maintained minimal exposure, maximum coverage, perfect interlocking fields of fire. This isn't an opportunistic ambush. This is a prepared operation, possibly days in the planning, which means they knew someone was coming, which means intelligence failed, which means Webb walked his team into a trap that competent reconnaissance should have identified. The snow continues falling, indifferent to human desperation. It covers the streets, the buildings, the frozen body of a stray dog near the apartment block entrance, nature reclaiming what war destroyed. Harper's finger taps against the SVK's receiver, a nervous habit from years ago that she thought she'd eliminated. But stress has a way of resurging old patterns, old instincts, old truths that training never quite buries. She looks at the radio. She looks at the building where her unit is dying by inches. She looks at the perfect firing position she's identified, the clear sight lines that only exist from her specific vantage point, the shots that nobody else can make because nobody else has the training, the instinct, the gift. Webb's voice crackles through. All units maintain position. That's an order. We hold until support arrives. But support isn't coming in time. And everyone knows it except Webb, who's too proud to admit that his tactical decisions led them into catastrophe. Harper's hand moves to the radio again. This time, it stays there. In the silence between radio transmissions, Harper exists in a different space. It's a mental state she discovered during training, refined through deployments, perfected through necessity. Some instructors call it the shooter's trance, others call it operational flow. Harper doesn't call it anything. She just goes there when the world needs to slow down. Through the PSO-1M-21 scope, reality compresses into manageable fragments. The reticle divides space into mathematical certainty. Wind speed, she reads it in the snow's horizontal drift. Temperature, 28 degrees Fahrenheit. Cold enough to affect powder burn rates, but not enough to require dramatic ballistic adjustments. Humidity, high, moisture heavy in the air, creating minimal mirage effect. Range to northeast building, 340 meters. Drop at that distance with 9 times 64 millimeters. Approximately 30 centimeters, adjusted for atmospheric pressure and altitude. The SVK-14S is zeroed at 200 meters, so she needs to hold just over the target's center mass. But the target isn't visible yet. They're professionals, maintaining discipline, exposing only what's necessary to keep Webb's team pinned down. Amateur shooters make the mistake of over-engaging, of presenting too much of themselves in their eagerness to land shots. Veterans understand that presence can be minimal and still effective. Harper shifts her position slightly, moving behind a collapsed section of decorative masonry that once adorned a bank entrance. The stone is cold against her cheek. Her breath creates minimal condensation. She's controlling her respiration. 4 seconds in, 7 seconds hold, 4 seconds out. The rhythm slows her heart rate, steadies her hands, creates the physiological conditions necessary for precise shooting. The memory surfaces unbidden. Kharkiv corridor, 18 months ago. A hostage situation in a building 3 blocks from friendly lines. 6 civilians, 4 hostage takers, 0 negotiation willingness. Standard response doctrine, tactical team entry, overwhelmed with speed and numbers. But Harper saw something in the thermal imaging that nobody else caught. A 7th hostile positioned on the roof, completely isolated from the main group, watching the approach vectors. If the tactical team breached, he'd have perfect shots on their entry point. She told the mission commander. He said her interpretation was speculative. He ordered the breach. Harper took the shot anyway. 700 meters, wind gusting at 15 knots, target partially concealed behind HVAC equipment. She aimed for center mass and hit the hostile's upper chest, dropping him before he could transmit warning to his team below. The breach went clean. All hostages extracted, 0 friendly casualties. Harper received a formal reprimand for firing without authorization. The commander recommended her for removal from combat operations. Her service record was flagged as acts without proper chain of command approval. 3 months later, that same commander wrote a confidential report about an unidentified sniper nicknamed Ghost, whose unauthorized actions had saved his team's lives. He recommended that if such an operator existed, they should receive commendation. He never made the connection. Or perhaps he chose not to. Harper's attention snaps back to present. Movement in the northeast building, 3rd floor. Someone adjusting position, shifting weight from one foot to another. The motion is brief, maybe 2 seconds, but it's enough. She now has confirmation. AK-74M, likely a standard rifleman providing suppressive fire rather than precision shooting. 2nd position, department store. No visual yet, but she can read the building's acoustics. The shots coming from there have a specific echo pattern, suggesting a space with partial walls and minimal furniture. Whoever's in there has good concealment but limited mobility. They've positioned in a spot that favors defense over maneuver. Third position, administrative building roof. This is the one that concerns her most. The shadow hasn't moved in 6 minutes, which suggests either abandonment or exceptional discipline. Given the coordinated nature of this ambush, she's betting on discipline. That's the sniper position. That's her counterpart, the one controlling the engagement's tempo, the one Webb's team can't neutralize because Morrison doesn't have the skills to detect, let alone eliminate, a properly concealed marksman. Harper's hand moves to the SVK's safety, then stops. Webb's orders are explicit. Rear guard maintains position. Rear guard does not engage unless directly threatened. Rear guard stays invisible, irrelevant, forgotten. The radio hisses, "Captain, Jackson's unconscious. Blood pressure is dropping. We need immediate medevac." Working on it. Webb's voice has lost its certainty. He's a good captain in standard operations, competent, careful, respected by his troops. But he's not a tactical genius, and this situation requires something beyond competence. Harper closes her eyes for 2 seconds, centering herself. When she opens them, the decision is already made. Not consciously, not through deliberate logic, but through instinct refined by years of understanding a simple truth. Orders matter, but lives matter more. She flips off the safety. The click is soft, barely audible over the wind. Through the scope, she begins the methodical process of reading the battlefield, the way others read text comprehensively, deeply, looking for the story hidden in positions and patterns. Somewhere in the northeast building, a hostile is about to learn the difference between being a good shot and facing someone who was born for this. Harper's breathing slows to the rhythm of falling snow, and in that cold silence, Ghost finally opens her eyes. Private Jackson dies at 1,347 hours. Harper doesn't hear the announcement. Radio discipline has collapsed into focused silence, the kind that happens when situations transition from crisis to catastrophe. But she sees it in the body language visible through the building's shattered windows. The way Torres stops moving, the way Chen's head drops, the way Webb's silhouette goes rigid against the pale interior wall. 19 years old, paper cranes, a girlfriend named Rebecca who will receive a letter that starts with, "We regret to inform you." The gunfire continues. The hostiles aren't celebrating, aren't increasing their rate of fire. They're professionals, executing a plan, waiting for ammunition depletion and morale collapse to do the real work. Harper's scope tracks to the administrative building's rooftop. The shadow hasn't moved in 11 minutes. That level of stillness requires training most soldiers never receive. It requires the ability to ignore discomfort, to suppress the small movements that human bodies make automatically, weight shifts, muscle tension adjustments, the unconscious fidgeting that separates amateurs from specialists. She's hunting a peer, someone who understands what she understands. Someone who knows that patience isn't a tactic, it's a philosophy. Through her scope, she studies the roofline. The snow creates texture variations where wind patterns interact with building geometry. There, a slight depression in the snow's surface, about 2 meters from the eastern edge. The depression is circular, approximately 30 centimeters in diameter, consistent with someone lying prone for an extended period. She adjusts her aim point, moving the reticle 3 degrees east. Now she's not looking at the obvious position. She's looking at where she would be if she were up there, where shadows fall differently, where sightlines optimize without sacrificing concealment. The radio crackles. Morrison's voice, stripped of its earlier confidence. "Captain, I don't know what to do. I can't find them. I can't. They're invisible." "Stay calm," Webb responds, but his tone suggests he's telling himself as much as Morrison. Conserve ammunition. Wait for support. But support is 27 minutes out, according to Harper's watch. Jackson didn't have 27 minutes. The rest of the team might not either. Harper's finger hovers over the radio's transmit button. She could speak now, could offer guidance, could explain exactly where the hostile positions are, how to suppress them, how to create a fighting withdrawal that maximizes survival probability. But she already knows how that conversation goes. Webb will ask how she knows. Morrison will question her assessment. Chen will support her, but Chen lacks the authority to overrule Webb's tactical command. And by the time they finish debating, someone else will be dying. Words take time. Action is immediate. The cold seeps through Harper's tactical pants, through the layers of gear, into her bones. She's been motionless for 19 minutes, long enough that most soldiers would be stiff, clumsy, operating at reduced efficiency. But Harper learned stillness from a Finnish instructor who once made her hold position in sub-zero conditions for 4 hours. If you can't master discomfort, he told her, you'll never master precision. She shifts her weight fractionally, testing her muscle response. Everything feels good, no stiffness, no tremor. Just the clean mechanical efficiency of a weapon system that includes her body, her mind, and the 11-pound rifle that's become an extension of her will. The hostel on the administrative building roof makes a mistake. It's tiny, just a slight adjustment to maintain blood flow to a limb that's been stationary too long. But tiny is all Harper needs. She sees the muzzle. Just the end of it, maybe 3 centimeters, protruding past the edge of a concrete barrier. The suppressor is dark, non-reflective, professional-grade equipment. This isn't militia. This isn't improvised insurgency. This is someone with training, resources, and a mission profile that suggests state-level backing. Harper runs the calculations. Range, 425 meters. Wind, gusting, but averaging 7 knots from the northwest. Target is elevated by approximately 12 meters, so she needs to adjust for the angle. The Brennecke round is powerful, but 425 meters in these conditions requires perfect compensation for multiple variables. Most importantly, she's only going to get 1 shot. The moment she fires, her position becomes compromised. Every hostile on this battlefield will know someone else is in play. The dynamics change completely. 1 shot to announce she's here. 1 shot to shift the entire tactical situation. 1 shot that either saves her unit or accomplishes nothing except getting her killed for disobeying orders. The wind pauses a brief lull in the storm's chaos. Through the scope, she can see the muzzle's outline with perfect clarity. Behind it, hidden by geometry and professional concealment, is a human being who's made a career out of killing people from distance. Today, they're equal. Today, the playing field is level. Today, skill versus skill, training versus training, will versus will. Harper's breathing stops, her heartbeat slows. The world compresses into a single point of focus, where mathematics and instinct merge into certainty. Her finger takes up the trigger slack 1 millimeter, 2 millimeters, approaching the break point, where mechanical action translates thought into lead, traveling at 900 meters per second. Webb's voice cuts through the radio. All units hold. Support is en route. We will survive this by maintaining discipline. But discipline doesn't stop bullets. Discipline doesn't restart hearts that have stopped beating. Discipline is what got them trapped in a kill zone while the enemy executes a methodical destruction of their combat capability. Harper has 2 choices: follow orders and watch her unit die, or disobey orders and maybe give them a chance. She thinks about Kharkiv, about the reprimand, about how doing the right thing earned her exile to the margins, to rearguard status, to being the soldier nobody wants in the formation. Then she thinks about paper cranes, about Rebecca, about the letters that will be written if she does nothing. The trigger breaks clean. The SVK-14S roars. The recoil punches her shoulder with familiar authority. Through the scope, she sees the suppressor jerk backwards, sees the shape behind it collapse, sees snow kick up where the round exits through the hostile's position. In the frozen silence that follows, 11 soldiers stop what they're doing and turn toward the sound, because that wasn't Morrison's rifle. That wasn't standard engagement. That was something else, something precise, something professional. That was Ghost. The echo of the SVK-14S fades into snow-muffled silence. For 3 seconds, nobody moves. The hostile fire stops not from casualties, but from confusion. Tactical situations have rhythms, patterns that both sides learn to read. When those patterns break, combat pauses while everyone recalculates. Harper doesn't pause. She's already shifting position, moving 15 meters northeast to a collapsed storefront whose interior offers better concealment and improved sightlines to the department store position. Her boots make minimal sound on the snow. The SVK rides low against her body, barrel discipline maintained even in movement. The radio explodes. Who the hell fired that shot? Morrison, report. Wasn't me, sir. Morrison's voice carries confusion. That came from outside the building, behind us. Webb's silence stretches for 5 seconds. Harper can imagine his thought process trying to reconcile an unauthorized shot with tactical reality, running through possibilities, arriving at a conclusion he doesn't want to acknowledge. Harper. Not a question, an accusation. She doesn't respond. The hostile positions are reorganizing, trying to identify the new threat. She sees movement in the northeast building, someone shifting to get visual on her previous position. They're looking for the muzzle flash that the snow swallowed completely. Through her scope, she acquires the second target. 3rd floor, northwest corner, partial exposure behind a window frame. She can see the outline of a tactical vest, the distinctive shape of an AK-74M, and maybe, yes, a fragment of face unprotected by balaclava. Range, 340 meters. Wind, still gusting, but readable. She's firing from a new position, so the hostile hasn't adjusted for her actual location. Advantage, hers. Harper's breathing cycles down. The trigger pressure is familiar, comfortable, the mechanical action smooth from proper maintenance, and thousands of practice repetitions. She holds center mass, accounts for drop, leads slightly right for wind drift. The SVK barks again. Through the scope, she sees the hostile snap backwards, the AK-74M dropping from nerveless fingers. Clean hit. Instant incapacitation. Now the enemy knows. They know there's a sniper in play. They know their precision shooter on the roof is down. They know the tactical geometry has changed. Harper moves again, 30 meters south to a position behind a concrete planter that once held decorative trees. The vegetation is long dead, frozen branches creating additional concealment. She settles into a supported prone position, using the planter's edge to stabilize her aim. Harper, respond. Webb's voice has shifted from accusation to something else. Hope, maybe, or just desperate need for information. She keys the radio. 2 hostiles down. Sniper position on administrative roof. Rifleman northeast building. 3rd floor. You have 6 remaining confirmed positions. What are you? You're supposed to be maintaining rear guard. Rear guard doesn't mean blind, sir, and your team needs more than rear guard right now. Chen's voice cuts in. Captain, she's right. We need this. Jackson is already gone. If we don't get support fire, we're all following him. Morrison adds grudgingly, those were good shots. Clean, professional. Harper scans the remaining positions. The hostiles have reorganized faster than expected military training shows. They're not panicking, not exposing themselves carelessly. Instead, they're adjusting tactics, creating overlapping fields of fire that make each position harder to engage without exposure to others. She identifies the pattern. They're shifting to a more defensive posture, trying to maintain the siege while protecting against the new threat, which means they still think they can win this, which means they haven't fully understood what they're facing. A voice comes over a different frequency, hostile communications bleeding through on the radio's edge. Harper catches fragments. Unknown shooter 2 down, execute phase 2. Phase 2. That's not good. That suggests a planned escalation, a contingency for exactly this situation. Through her scope, she sees movement at the department store position. Someone's preparing something, adjusting equipment, setting up for an action that requires 2 people working together. Harper's blood goes cold. A rocket-propelled grenade at this range, into the building where Webb's team is pinned, that's not suppressive fire. That's a kill shot. They're going to bring down part of the structure, bury the survivors under rubble, then move in to eliminate whoever remains. Captain, they're preparing an RPG strike. Harper transmits. Department store, west wall. You have maybe 30 seconds before they fire. Can you stop it? Webb asks. The question is bare, stripped of ego or protocol, a leader asking if his people can be saved. Harper shifts her aim to the department store position. The RPG team is partially concealed, working behind the rubble wall. She can see fragments, a shoulder, an arm, the distinctive tube of the launcher being positioned. The shooter and loader are coordinated, professional, moving with practiced efficiency. This shot is harder. partial concealment, moving target, time constraint. And if she misses, Webb's team dies. She finds her breath cycle, finds the stillness at the center of controlled chaos. The scope's reticle settles on the visible shoulder. Not ideal, she'd prefer center mass, but sometimes you take what's available. The RPG tube begins to rise, angling toward the building. The shooter is lining up the shot, adjusting for range. 10 seconds, maybe less. Harper's finger touches the trigger. The pressure builds gradually, smoothly, reaching the breakpoint with the same inevitability as sunrise. The SVK roars for the third time. The 9x64mm Brennicke round crosses 380 meters in under half a second. Through the scope, Harper sees the shoulder jerk, sees the RPG tube swing wildly off target as the shooter collapses, sees the loader duck behind cover as his partner goes down. No explosion, no building collapse, no buried soldiers. The radio is silent for 3 heartbeats. Then Chen's voice, quiet with something that might be awe. Confirmed. RPG threat neutralized. Harper, that was. Stay focused, Harper interrupts. You've still got 4 hostile positions active. They're going to regroup and try something else. But something has shifted. The hostile fire has become sporadic, less coordinated. They're not retreating yet. Professional soldiers don't abandon prepared positions easily, but they're re-evaluating, adjusting their tactical assessment to account for a variable they didn't plan for. Harper chambers another round. The SVK-14S has a 5-round internal magazine, and she's fired 3. 2 left in the weapon, plus 30 rounds in her tactical vest. More than enough for what needs to happen next. In the swirling snow, through the scope of a rifle that most soldiers have never heard of, Ghost continues her work. Silent, precise, inevitable. And somewhere in the ruins, the remaining hostiles are beginning to understand what it means to be hunted by someone who was born for this. The battlefield has language. Most soldiers never learn to read it. They hear gunfire, see movement, react to immediate threats. But snipers read deeper. They read the pauses between shots, the timing of reloads, the subtle shifts in firing patterns that reveal when someone's running low on ammunition or losing confidence. Harper reads the hostiles' fear in the lengthening intervals between engagements. She's moved position again, this time to the second floor of a partially collapsed office building 40 meters west of her last location. The stairs were precarious, concrete crumbling beneath her boots, but the elevation provides superior sight lines and makes her harder to triangulate. Through the scope, she identifies the 4th hostile, northeast building, ground floor, using an interior doorway for cover. This one's smart, minimizing exposure, taking careful shots only when Webb's team presents targets. The kind of soldier who survives firefights through patience and discipline. Harper respects that. But respect doesn't prevent action. Range, 295 meters. The angle is tricky. She's shooting slightly downward now, which affects ballistics differently than shooting upward. The hostile is behind cover, but cover in urban warfare is never absolute. There are always gaps, always moments of vulnerability. She waits. 3 minutes. 4. Her muscles don't cramp. Her focus doesn't waver. Waiting is what she does. The hostile makes a tactical error shifting position to get a better angle on Morrison, who's attempting to return fire from the building's eastern window. The movement creates a gap, maybe 3 seconds of partial exposure, as the hostile transitions between cover points. Harper is already tracking the movement, predicting the path before it completes. Her reticle settles on empty space, the place where the hostile will be, not where they are. Leading a moving target is instinct refined through repetition until it becomes reflex. The hostile enters the kill zone. Harper fires. The 4th position goes silent. That's 4. She transmits over the radio. 3 remaining. Northeast building ground floor is clear. Morrison, you can move to that window now. Morrison doesn't respond verbally, but she sees him shift position through the building's shattered glass. He's learning, following her guidance, even if it burns him to take tactical direction from someone Webb labeled as rear guard. The 5th hostile is smarter. They're in the northeast building's basement level, firing through a narrow ground-level window that provides minimal target profile. The shots are calculated, economical, someone who understands ammunition conservation. Harper can't get a clean angle from her current position. The basement window is recessed, the hostile too deep in shadow. She needs to adjust. But moving means exposure. Every time she changes position, there's risk. The remaining 3 hostiles are professionals. By now, they've figured out her general area. They're watching for movement, waiting for her to make a mistake. Chen comes over the radio. Harper, we're down to critical ammunition levels. Torres has 2 magazines. Webb has 3. If this goes much longer. Understood. Harper scans the environment, running tactical calculations. She needs to eliminate 3 more hostiles, but she also needs to create an opportunity for Webb's team to extract. Killing the enemy is only half the mission. Getting friendly forces out alive is what victory looks like. She studies the street layout. If Webb's team moves now, they'll have to cross approximately 20 meters of open ground to reach the next building. An old hotel with better defensive positions and multiple exit routes. 20 meters is manageable, but not under fire from 3 hostile positions. She needs to create covering fire. Not suppressive fire, that's Morrison's job. She needs precision elimination that makes movement possible. Captain, on my mark, you're going to move to the hotel building northeast of your position, the one with the blue facade. It's got better egress options and structural advantages for defense. Harper, we can't move under fire. You can, if there's no fire. Give me 2 minutes. She doesn't wait for Webb's authorization. Authorization is a luxury for situations that aren't actively killing people. Harper shifts to a standing position, risky, but necessary for the angle she needs. The office building's interior wall provides partial concealment as she moves to the western window. From here, she can see the basement position clearly. The hostile is prone, rifle position for maximum stability, totally focused on the building where Webb's team is pinned. Classic sniper mistake, fixation. When you're so concentrated on your target that you forget to watch your own back. Range, 310 meters. Angle, severe downward trajectory that requires adjustment to her holdover. The basement window is narrow, maybe 40 centimeters wide. The hostile's head is partially visible, but center mass is obscured by the window frame. Headshot. No room for error. No second chances. Harper's breathing slows to the edge of biological minimum. Her heart rate drops. The world compresses into the scope's circular universe reticle. Target, wind drift, drop calculation, all of it merging into geometric certainty. The SVK-14S fires. The last round in the magazine. Through the scope, the hostile's head snaps sideways. The rifle tumbles from nerveless hands. Movement stops. 5 down. Harper drops the magazine, loads a fresh one from her tactical vest. The motion is automatic, drilled through thousands of repetitions until muscle memory operates independent of conscious thought. 5 rounds loaded. Ready. The 2 remaining hostiles have gone silent. They know the pattern now. They know that engaging means dying. They're trying to decide if their mission profile includes suicide or if survival is permitted. Harper, what's your status? Webb's voice has changed. No more skepticism, no more dismissal, just tactical need and growing respect. 2 hostiles remaining, both in the northeast building, likely repositioning. You've got a window for movement. 30 seconds, starting now. She doesn't hear Webb's acknowledgement. She's already tracking the northeast building, watching for any sign of hostile movement. The SVK is loaded, ready, an extension of her will, made manifest in precision engineering. Webb's team moves. Through her scope, she sees them exiting the building. Torres supporting specialist David Martinez, who's limping from a leg wound. Chen covering the rear. Morrison providing overwatch with his M110. Webb leading, scanning for threats. The hostiles see the movement. She knows they do, because professionals always watch the kill zones, but they don't fire, because firing means revealing their position, and revealing their position means Ghost finds them. Fear is its own ammunition. Webb's team reaches the hotel building. 11 soldiers went into the original structure. 10 are coming out. Jackson's body remains behind, to be recovered later when tactical situations permit. But 10 is better than 0. 10 is survival against overwhelming odds. 10 is what happens when someone refuses to stay invisible. Through the falling snow, Harper watches the remaining 2 hostiles retreat from the northeast building. They're withdrawing, abandoning positions, prioritizing survival over mission completion. The engagement is over. The ambush failed. She keys the radio one last time. Hostiles are withdrawing. You're clear to establish defensive positions in the new location. Support should reach you in 15 minutes. Harper. Webb's voice is different now. Quieter. I was wrong. I should have. Save it for the debrief, sir. Get your people secured. I'll maintain overwatch until support arrives. She doesn't wait for his response. Doesn't need his apology or acknowledgement. The mission was never about recognition. It was never about being seen. It was about making sure her people went home, and they will. Battered, diminished, but alive. In the frozen ruins of Krevansk, the SVK-14S goes silent. The snow continues falling, and Ghost returns to the shadows where she belongs. Support arrives 18 minutes later, 2 infantry squads and a medical team. They find Webb's unit secured in the hotel building. Defensive positions established. Wounded, treated as best as field conditions allow. They find Jackson's body recovered from the original building, handled with dignity despite the chaos. What they don't find is Harper. She was here, Morrison tells the support commander, Lieutenant Colonel Frank Brennan. She was providing overwatch from somewhere west of our position. Took down 5 hostiles, maybe 6. Saved our asses when we were about to get rolled up. Brennan looks at Morrison with the expression of someone hearing a combat story that doesn't fit standard tactical doctrine. One sniper engaged multiple fortified positions, and you didn't have visual contact with this sniper? Sir, she was on the radio. Harper, from our unit, the one Webb assigned to rear guard. Morrison pauses, then adds quietly, the one we should have been listening to from the start. Webb steps forward, arm in a makeshift sling from where shrapnel caught him during the engagement. Colonel, Private First Class, Megan Harper disobeyed direct orders when she engaged hostile forces. However, her actions directly resulted in the survival of my unit. I'm recommending her for commendation despite the protocol violations. Brennan studies Webb's face, reading the subtext. Where is Harper now? Unknown, sir. Last radio contact was 40 minutes ago. She said she'd maintain overwatch until support arrived, then went silent. And her position? Webb hesitates. We never had visual on her actual location. She was too far out, and the snowfall. So you don't know where she was operating from, you don't know her current location, and you're telling me a single shooter eliminated multiple professional combatants from unknown positions? Brennan's skepticism is clear. Captain Webb, I need facts, not combat mythology. Chen steps forward. Sir, I can provide tactical details. Harper transmitted specific information about hostile positions that proved accurate. She identified an RPG team that was preparing to engage our position. Without her intervention, we would have sustained massive casualties, possibly total loss. The medic treating Martinez adds, Colonel, whatever happened out there, these soldiers believe it. Their testimony is consistent. Someone was providing precision fire support from an elevated position west of the engagement zone. Brennan looks out the hotel's shattered window at the snow-covered ruins. Visibility is maybe 50 meters. The storm has intensified, turning the city into a white void. All right, we'll debrief in detail once we're back at base. Right now, we need to extract and get your wounded proper medical attention. Martinez, Torres, your priority for medevac. The evacuation proceeds efficiently. The medical team stabilizes Martinez's leg wound and treats minor injuries. Webb's unit is loaded into armored transports. Jackson's body handled with ceremony despite the tactical urgency. Morrison pauses before boarding, scanning the ruins through the storm. She's still out there. Harper's still out there. She knew the extraction window, Chen replies. She's probably already moving to rally point. Harper doesn't need us to babysit her. But Morrison doesn't look convinced. Because soldiers don't just vanish into snowstorms. Because rearguard is supposed to link up with the main unit. Because the whole engagement has the quality of something from a legend rather than standard military operations. The transports depart, leaving Krevansk to its frozen silence. 3 hours later, at Forward Operating Base Sentinel, Webb sits in the operations center being debriefed by Brennan and Major Alexandra Stone, the intelligence officer. The room is warm, bright with electric lighting, almost obscenely normal after the chaos of urban combat. Let me make sure I understand, Stone says, reviewing the tactical map on her tablet. Your unit was ambushed by what appears to be a professional hostile team with prepared positions and coordinated fields of fire. You suffered 1 KIA, multiple wounded, and were effectively pinned down with diminishing ammunition. Correct, Webb confirms. Then, Private Harper, who you'd assigned to rear guard, engaged hostile positions from long range using an SVK-14S rifle. She eliminated between 5 and 6 hostiles, neutralized an RPG team, and provided covering fire that allowed your unit to reposition to a more defensible location. That's accurate, ma'am. Stone looks up from her tablet. Captain, the SVK-14S isn't standard issue for U.S. forces. It's a Russian weapon system designed for specialized sniper applications. Where did Harper acquire this weapon? Webb blinks. He hadn't even considered that question. I don't know. I assumed it was from our weapons pool, some kind of specialized issue. Our armory has M110S, M2010S, and standard infantry rifles. We don't have SVK-14S systems, and yet you're telling me Harper was operating with one in the field. Stone makes a note. That's concerning from a supply chain and accountability perspective. Brennan leans back in his chair. There's another issue. We have no record of Harper being qualified on sniper systems. Her MOS is 11B infantry, standard rifleman, no specialized marksman training, no advanced reconnaissance qualifications. Webb feels the ground shifting beneath him. Sir, with respect, I saw the results. Morrison can confirm the shot quality. Those weren't amateur engagements. I'm not questioning the results, Captain. I'm questioning how a soldier with standard infantry training conducted precision operations that our own specialized units would struggle to replicate. Brennan pulls up something on his screen. Actually, there's something else. Harper's service record has some irregularities. Stone adds, she transferred to your unit 6 months ago from a classified posting. Prior to that, she was with an unnamed unit conducting operations in Eastern Europe. Her training records from that period are sealed under Special Access Program protocols. Webb stares. A SAP? Like Special Operations? Like something that doesn't officially exist, Stone clarifies. Captain, I think your rear guard soldier might be considerably more than she appeared. The pieces begin assembling in Webb's mind. The way Harper moved with controlled precision, the way she read tactical situations before they developed, the calm competence that seemed excessive for a standard infantry soldier. The nickname nobody explained, Ghost. What happened to her previous unit? Webb asks. Stone's expression goes carefully neutral. That information is classified. What I can tell you is that Harper requested transfer to standard infantry posting 6 months ago. The request was approved without explanation. She's been operating as a regular soldier in your unit since then. But she's not a regular soldier. No, Captain, she's not. Brennan stands, moving to the window overlooking the base compound. Here's what's going to happen. We'll conduct a standard debrief on the Krevansk engagement. Harper will be noted as having provided effective fire support within her assigned role. No commendations, no official recognition. Her actions remain within standard operational parameters. Sir, she saved my unit. I know what she did, Captain, but some soldiers don't want recognition. Some soldiers specifically request to be unremarkable, to fade into standard rotations, to be forgotten by the system. Brennan turns back to Webb, and we honor those requests, even when it means downplaying heroism that deserves medals. Webb understands. Harper wasn't supposed to be extraordinary. She was supposed to be rear guard, forgettable, safe in anonymity. But combat doesn't care about preferences. When people needed saving, she did what she's always done. She became Ghost. Harper returns to base 47 hours after the Krevansk engagement. She arrives with a routine patrol, gear standard, no SVK-14S visible. When questioned about the gap in accountability, she explains she was conducting extended reconnaissance of the withdrawal route, maintaining overwatch on potential hostile movement, operating within the broad parameters of rear guard responsibility. Nobody challenges the explanation. Because challenging, it means asking questions that lead to answers Webb's superiors have made clear they don't want documented. In the barracks that evening, Morrison finds her cleaning her M4 carbine. The weapon is standard issue, completely unremarkable, The kind of rifle 10,000 infantry soldiers carry without distinction. "Where's the SVK?" he asks quietly. Harper doesn't look up from her cleaning. "What SVK?" "The rifle you used in Krevansk, the one that—" "I was carrying my standard loadout. M4 carbine, 3 magazines, standard optics, same as you." Morrison sits on the adjacent bunk. "Harper, I know what I heard. I know what happened." "Do you?" Now she looks at him. "Because the official report says the hostile ambush failed due to aggressive tactical repositioning and effective suppressive fire from the unit. No mention of extraordinary marksmanship. No mention of individual heroics. That's bullshit. That's what keeps soldiers alive," Harper replies. "Sometimes the best outcome is when nobody asks questions. When operations get classified as routine patrol contact instead of whatever actually happened." Morrison studies her face, looking for something: anger, pride, frustration. But Harper's expression is neutral, giving nothing away. "Jackson died out there. I know. We should have listened to you earlier. Before we walked into that kill zone. If Webb had trusted—" "Webb did his job the way he was trained to do it," Harper interrupts. "Following standard doctrine, making reasonable decisions based on available information. He's a good captain. Who got us ambushed? Because he wouldn't listen to the one person who saw what was coming." Harper sets down the cleaning rod. "Morrison, you've been in the Army 6 years. You've seen good leaders make bad calls because tactical situations are complicated and information is incomplete. Webb got most of his people home. That's what matters. Most. Jackson didn't come home." "No." Harper's voice softens slightly. "He didn't, and we'll honor him properly. But blame doesn't bring him back, and blame doesn't make future operations safer." Morrison is quiet for a moment. "Then, what did you do before transferring to our unit? What were you?" "Standard infantry. Same as now." "Harper, you should get some rest," she says, standing and securing her M4 in her wall locker. "We've got a mission briefing at 0600. Early morning." She walks away before Morrison can ask more questions, because questions lead to answers, and answers lead to explanations, and explanations lead to exactly the kind of attention she's spent 6 months trying to escape. In the operations center, Webb and Chen are reviewing the official after-action report. The document is clean, factual, stripped of anything that suggests supernatural precision or extraordinary individual performance. "This reads like a standard engagement," Chen observes. "Hostile ambush repelled through unit cohesion and tactical redeployment. No mention of Harper's actions." "That's by design," Webb replies. "Brennan made it clear some things don't go in official records, even when those things saved our lives." Webb closes the report. "Chen, sometimes recognition is the last thing someone wants. Harper could have stayed in special operations, could have continued being whoever she was before, but she chose to transfer out, to become ordinary, to be rear guard in a standard infantry unit. Why would anyone choose that? Maybe because extraordinary comes with a cost. Maybe because being Ghost Webb catches himself, then continues being whoever she was. It took something she wasn't willing to keep giving." Chen considers this. "Do you think she'll stay? Or will she transfer again, keep running from whatever she's trying to escape?" "I don't know." Webb looks out the window at the compound, where ordinary soldiers conduct ordinary duties in the afternoon light. Somewhere among them is Harper, indistinguishable from everyone else. "But I know one thing. Next time we go into the field, I'm listening when she talks, rear guard or not." "Agreed." Later that night, in the enlisted mess hall, Torres and Martinez sit with Morrison. Martinez's leg is bandaged, crutches propped against the table. The conversation is quiet, tired, the kind of talk that happens after combat when adrenaline has faded and reality settles in. "She saved us," Torres says. "Whatever the official story says, Harper saved us. I know it. You know it. Everyone who was there knows it." Martinez nods slowly. "I heard someone call her Ghost. Before I got hit, right after the second hostile went down. I heard it on the radio, just a whisper, someone saying Ghost is here." "Who said it?" Morrison asks. "Don't know. Could have been one of ours. Could have been one of theirs. But the way they said it," Martinez trails off. "It wasn't a call sign. It was a warning. Like recognizing something they'd heard about but hoped they'd never face." Torres looks across the mess hall to where Harper sits alone, eating standard food, reading a paperback novel, completely unremarkable. She doesn't look like a legend. Legends never do, Morrison replies. That's why they survive. The conversation ends there, because some truths don't need elaboration. Some truths exist in the space between official records and lived experience. Some truths live in the whisper of a name that nobody admits to knowing. Ghost. 3 months after Kravansk, the city remains abandoned. The storm that day has passed, but winter maintains its grip on the ruins. New snow covers old snow, layers accumulating like sediment in geological time, burying evidence of human presence beneath blank white silence. Occasionally, patrols pass through the area. They follow different routes than Webb's unit took. They avoid the buildings where ambushes happened, where blood froze on concrete, where a 19-year-old soldier's life ended. The official records list the engagement as minor contact with hostile forces, resolved through standard tactical protocols. 1 U.S. Kia, Private First Class, Noah Jackson. Mission status, successful withdrawal with acceptable losses. The unofficial stories are different. In the barracks, during the quiet hours between missions, soldiers talk. They talk about the sniper nobody saw, about impossible shots through impossible conditions, about a unit that should have been wiped out but somehow made it home. The stories grow with each telling. 5 hostiles become 10, become 15. 300 meters becomes 500, becomes 1,000. The snow becomes a blizzard, becomes zero visibility. But the core truth remains constant. Someone saved them. Someone operating alone, unsupported, from positions nobody could identify. Someone who appeared when needed most, then vanished like smoke. Harper listens to these stories sometimes. Usually she's elsewhere conducting standard patrols, pulling guard duty, cleaning weapons in the armory. But occasionally she hears her name, or rather, hears the absence of her name. Hears the empty space where recognition should exist. She doesn't correct the stories, doesn't claim credit, doesn't explain what actually happened, or how many shots were fired, or what calculations enabled precision in chaos. Because legends don't explain themselves. Legends exist in uncertainty, in the gaps between knowledge and mystery. And Harper has learned that sometimes the best way to protect people is to remain unknown. Webb gets promoted to major 4 months later. His next unit is different, larger, more complex, operating in a different theater. But he carries Kravansk with him, carries the lesson about listening to soldiers regardless of their position in the formation, carries the understanding that extraordinary capability sometimes hides in unexpected places. He writes a letter to Harper before he transfers. It's brief, professional, the kind of communication that could go in any service record. Harper, thank you for your service with the unit. Your professionalism and tactical awareness contributed significantly to operational success. I hope your future assignments recognize your full capabilities. He doesn't mention Kravansk specifically, doesn't reference Ghost, but Harper understands. The letter is acknowledgement without documentation, recognition without official record. She files it away with other papers that define a military career, training certificates, assignment orders, the accumulated paperwork of service. Just another document among many. Morrison gets selected for Ranger School the following year. During the land navigation portion, he gets lost in hill country during a storm. Visibility drops to near zero. His compass bearing becomes uncertain. For 3 hours, he navigates through conditions that erase landmarks and swallow sound. But he finds his way. Because during those 3 hours, he remembers Kravansk, remembers how Harper moved through chaos with calm certainty, remembers that the best navigation isn't about seeing clearly, it's about trusting preparation and maintaining focus when everything else falls apart. He graduates Ranger School with honors. When asked about his most important lesson from the course, he says, learning to trust invisible calculations, learning that some things can't be seen but still exist. The instructors nod, thinking he's talking about navigation skills. Morrison knows he's talking about something else. Chen makes captain 2 years later and takes command of her own infantry unit. During her first mission briefing, she establishes a protocol. Every soldier has tactical input, regardless of rank or position. Rear guard gets equal voice with point. Specialists can challenge officers if tactical situations warrant. Her senior NCO asks if this is standard doctrine. Chen replies, "It's the doctrine that keeps people alive. I learned it from someone who proved its value." The unit functions well. They avoid ambushes that less flexible units walk into. They survive engagements that rigid command structures wouldn't navigate successfully. Chen's doctrine becomes noteworthy. Other commanders ask about her methods, about how she maintains discipline while empowering subordinates. She never mentions Harper by name, but she teaches what Harper taught her, that good tactics listen to every voice, especially the quiet ones. In the ruins of Krevinsk, snow continues falling. The buildings stand empty, gradually collapsing under weight and time. The streets remain abandoned. No reconstruction efforts, no redevelopment plans. Just slow decay into rubble that will eventually blend into landscape. The northeast building where hostiles position themselves develops a new crack in its foundation. By spring, the third floor partially collapses. By summer, the structure is condemned beyond salvage. The basement window where the fifth hostel was positioned fills with debris, becoming invisible beneath accumulated damage. The administrative building's roof, where the precision shooter maintained position, loses integrity during a storm. The concrete barrier that provided concealment tumbles into the street below. Snow and rain erode what's left, nature reclaiming what humans built and abandoned. Physical evidence fades. Tactical positions become meaningless. The battlefield where extraordinary events occurred returns to being just another forgotten city in a region full of forgotten places. But legends don't require physical evidence. Legends live in memory, in stories, in the collective understanding that some events transcend ordinary explanation. Harper serves another 3 years, then leaves active duty. Her discharge paperwork is unremarkable standard honorable discharge. No special citations, no classified annexes. She returns to civilian life, finds work as a park ranger in Montana, spends her days managing wilderness areas and teaching backcountry safety. Sometimes, hunters ask her about military service. She confirms she was Army infantry, deployed overseas, conducted standard operations. When pressed for war stories, she demurs. Mostly routine patrols. Nothing dramatic. But occasionally, on cold mornings when snow falls through pine trees and visibility drops to haunting clarity, she remembers. Remembers Krevinsk. Remembers the weight of the SVK-14S. Remembers the scope's reticle settling on targets that nobody else could identify. Remembers Jackson, who was 19 and folded paper cranes and died before he got the chance to become who he might have been. She carries that weight, not as burden, but as responsibility, as reminder of why precision mattered, why the silent calculations, the invisible presence, the refusal to be seen, all of it, served purpose beyond personal recognition. Some soldiers fight to be heroes. Some soldiers fight to ensure heroes aren't necessary. Harper chose the second path. Chose to be the variable that nobody planned for, the advantage that arrived unexpected, the force that changed outcomes without claiming credit. In military terminology, she was a force multiplier, a single asset that amplified unit effectiveness beyond standard calculations. But force multipliers don't work if everyone knows they're there. Don't function if enemies adapt to their presence. Don't survive if legend becomes identity. So Harper let the legend live separate from the person. Let Ghost exist in stories, while Megan Harper existed in barracks and mess halls and routine assignments. Let the myth protect the reality. Years pass. New conflicts emerge. New soldiers deploy. New stories accumulate in the collective memory of military service. Krevinsk becomes a footnote, then a reference, then a half-remembered incident that might have happened or might have been confused with something else. But in certain units, during certain training exercises, instructors tell a story. Not officially, not in doctrine manuals or tactical guides, but in the informal education that happens between experienced soldiers and new ones. They tell about a unit in a dead city, about an ambush that should have been total loss, about impossible shots through impossible conditions, about a soldier who disobeyed orders and saved everyone. They don't use names, don't provide specifics that could be verified or disputed, just the essential truth. Sometimes the person you need most is the one you thought you didn't need at all. And sometimes, in snowfall thick enough to swallow the world, The invisible become the only ones who can see clearly enough to guide everyone home. There's a memorial at Forward Operating Base Sentinel. Black granite, names engraved, the standard military remembrance for those who died in theater. Noah Jackson's name is there, along with hundreds of others whose lives ended far from home. Harper visits once, 2 years after leaving active duty. She drives 6 hours from Montana, arrives at the base entrance, presents identification, gets escorted to the memorial site by a young private who wasn't there during her deployment. She stands in front of Jackson's name for 11 minutes, doesn't cry, doesn't speak, just stands in silence that carries weight of its own. A voice behind her, "I remember him." She turns. Torres, now a sergeant, uniform crisp, bearing confident. "I was there when he died, when we were pinned down in Krevansk." Harper nods slowly. "I remember too. You saved us that day." Torres says it as statement, not question. Nobody talks about it officially, but everyone who was there knows. "I was rear guard, just doing my job." Torres smiles slightly. "We both know that's not true, but I understand why you say it." She pauses. "For what it's worth, thank you. For Jackson, even though we couldn't save him. And for the rest of us, because we're only here because of what you did." Harper doesn't respond immediately. Then, "Jackson folded paper cranes. Did you know that?" "I didn't. He showed me one once. Said his girlfriend taught him. Said it helped him remember there's beauty in small, careful things." Harper looks back at the memorial. He was 19. He deserved more time to fold cranes. "Yeah." Torres's voice is quiet. "He did." They stand together for another minute. Two soldiers who survived something that could have killed them, honoring the one who didn't. Then Torres salutes, not the memorial, but Harper directly. "Thank you, Ghost." Harper returns the salute, not acknowledging the name, not denying it either, just accepting the recognition from someone who earned the right to give it. Then she leaves, returns to her truck, drives 6 hours back to Montana, to forests and mountains, and work that doesn't involve calculating bullet trajectories through snowstorms. Behind her, the memorial stands silent. Jackson's name remains carved in stone, permanent, official, documented. But in the spaces between documentation, in the stories that soldiers tell, in the memories that persist beyond official records, another name exists. Not carved, not official, but no less permanent. Ghost, the legend that saved them. The sniper nobody saw. The soldier who understood that sometimes the greatest courage is remaining invisible while ensuring everyone else makes it home. In Krevansk, snow continues falling. The city stays dead. The ruins continue their slow collapse into irrelevance. But legends don't need cities, don't require buildings or streets or physical evidence. Legends live in the moment when ordinary soldiers face impossible odds and somehow impossibly survive. Because somewhere in the chaos, someone was watching. Someone with the skill to change everything. Someone who chose to be forgotten so others could be remembered. That's what legends are made of. Not glory, not recognition. Just the quiet certainty that when everything is ending, the invisible become the only ones who matter. And the snow falls. And the city sleeps. And somewhere, in forests far from frozen battlefields, a former soldier maintains trails and teaches safety and carries memories that nobody asks about. Which is exactly how she wants it. Because some people don't need to be seen. They only need to be there when it matters most.